but you acting like it's on. Yeah, you wanna deflect when the heat's on. Wanna take a lady playing gamers like a pawn. You built the design, now it's crashing down. What's respect, lost the crowd. You could've fought, you could've owned it. Instead you ran and left it broken. Now you're hiding, you take the heat, but don't pretend it's on repeat. Why'd you have to go make it so complicated? You act like it's their fault when it's your choice is that faded. You could've stood tall, but you played the blame game. Now everyone sees through your shame. But why'd you make it so complicated?
And kneel and be amazed at the touch of the black man.
Be a real hero. Don't be a Hollywood hero type with all the BS and all the yelling and screaming and trying to be tough. Be strong enough to be gentle.
Nothing to lose. Now the lights gone dim, no more playing the fool. Simp on his corner, now they're back to school. Soy boys, what you gonna do when the simp hunters come and they're gonna for you? Soy boys, what you gonna do when the simp hunters come and they're gonna for you?
All simps are innocent until voted guilty by the chat.
Skyline racing through the night. Atlanta's heart is pounding, feel the city's might. From the Braves to the Ferris wheel, I'm chasing dreams so real. Burning rubber on the pavement, let the wheels reveal. Pushing limits, no turning back. In the city of the Braves, I'm on the attack. Through the streets where the legends play, I'll keep on racing, never fade away. Midnight heat, I'm burning, burning for you. Midnight heat, I'm burning. Up these streets, never give up, never give in. With the power of Christ, I'll take the win. Midnight heat, I'm burning, burning for you. Midnight heat, I'm burning. Up these streets, never give up, never give in. With the power of Christ, I'll take the win.
Crockett. Vice, Miami.
O.R.C.A on the mic. This one for all my time disgraced geisha bitches. Yeah. No, we back in the day, 16th century, Sengoku era, straight feudal energy. Samurai on the rise, Danyo in the mix. Oda, Tokugawa fixing conflicts quick. Ninja creeping in the shadows, silent and swift. Castles fortified, loyalties to give. Bushido gold, honest in the heart. Blades clashing, battlefields to art. Sengoku times can be wild and crazy sizzle. Samurai life, it's the warlord fizzle. Feudal Japan in the house like a dread sizzle. History in the rhyme, feel the ancient sizzle.
Before we begin, what do you think of my totally accurate samurai attire, right?
Wake up with a smile, there's the ciders on the dial. When
good cheer all day. He's the one who makes it sway.
It's the air with style, morning radio wild. Cider's voice so clear, fills the morning with good cheer.
Mr. Cider,
Good morning, good morning.
start your day with joy dawning. Wake up now, don't be late. Sun is rising, feeling great.
Coffee brews and toast is warm. Cider's voice is the daily norm. Smooth and sweet like apple pie, lifts us up and makes us fly.
Radio waves in the air, Mr. Cider always there. Tunes that make us dance around, Mr. C bringing that sound.
Well, it's not that happy of a morning. That's right. It's not that happy of a morning after all. We are in fact looking at the day after James Earl Jones. I don't think it's a secret how important this guy was to cinema, not only in like the 70s and the 80s, but also in the 90s and the early 2000s. James Earl Jones was not only the pinnacle of what most Americans would consider voice actor when the title came to mind, but he was also a pillar of American Hollywood ethics. The man didn't go out and preach about how awful Reagan was or how great Carter was or the opposite of that. He didn't lend his talent to these things. I believe the most political thing that he ever did with his career was do the opening for CNN, the most trusted name in news, you know? And I think that was it. I think that was the most political that guy ever got with his career. And this is a fellow that fought to have the kind of speaking acumen that we know him for. He had a terrible stutter, very, very difficult stutter, and it came to get him later on in life when his faculties, I'm stuttering a little, when his faculties started to fail him in his older age. It happens. You get up there, you know, and things start to get a little loose that were once tight, you know, and that kind of happens to guys. You know, you get a little fuzzy in the brain, and some of the stuff you worked really hard to master in your younger years kind of comes back to bite you in your older years. So the fella leaves behind a massive, massive footprint. A lot of people know him as Darth Vader. A lot of people know him as Mufasa. A lot of people know him for his role in, I just had it, in Conan, with, I forget what he was. Was it the Anaconda King? I forget what his name was. Maybe it was some complicated barbarian name, I don't know. But he's known for that role, as seen right here in the... no, this is from Stargate. Excuse me, this is from Stargate right here. This is not his role in the Conan movie. I got the snakes confused. You see, you got a snake on the screen, so I got confused with that. But that is James Earl Jones, what we're dealing with this morning. 93 years old. He saw quite a bit. I know him best from a performance I can't remember the name of because I'm so good at my job. I know him best from a stage performance in which he played a father that was not wholesome and kind, that he was a working man who was stressed out and in a marriage that he wasn't happy with, but he was going to stick with because that's what God wanted. And he had a son that was a bit of a screw up and fell in with the wrong kind of people. And it's a brilliant performance from James Earl Jones, and it's a stage performance. You probably won't see it. You won't see it on film, committed to a Hollywood style movie, but it's an incredible performance because the man is totally in character despite being on stage. And as a former stage actor myself, I know that it's hard to get into character when you're aware that just a few feet away, there's hundreds, well, in his case, thousands of people looking at you, you know, and you can hear them breathing, you can hear them clear their throats, and the silence between your words, you can feel their eyes on you, you know. And add to that, the background that you have to work with are usually just some freestanding props that if you lean on them too hard, they'll fall right over or break. So as a stage actor, it's a little harder to get into character as opposed to being a film actor where they shut down a whole part of a city for you to go role play around in, you know? You cartwheels in the middle of Fifth Avenue because they shut it down for 10 minutes for you. You know, and that's It's a little different when you're a stage actor. I would say that this is what separates a lot of your Hollywood actors from your stage trained actors. You remember this with David Tennant's performances, and you would notice this with Patrick Stewart as well. Actors who come from stage acting have a vastly different way of communicating their characters because they're not relying on special effects, lighting, and music to characterize their line delivery. You'll see that with a lot of modern actors. Vin Diesel is guilty of this. I don't know if you've noticed this, but Vin Diesel is the same character all the time. He's Vin Diesel. He's either Vin Diesel that drives really fast and cares about his family, or he's Vin Diesel in space that kills lots of people with neat sunglasses. That's it. That's all you get with Vin Diesel. You get sci-fi Vin Diesel and you get drives fast cars Vin Diesel. That's it. There's no middle ground. You know? And there isn't even a different character there. But with actors like James Earl Jones and like Patrick Stewart and like David Tennant, the stage actors, people that come from learning acting from being right in front of people on the stage, you end up having to emote differently. You have to like fully immerse yourself in the character in order to ignore your environment in order to perform. And James Earl Jones was like, if not the pinnacle of it, I would say, top two of people that were just able to assume a character on command. Anywhere that man stood, he could move into a character because that's how he was trained. Ignore your environment, become the character. A lot of movie actors can't do that. I'm not sure Robert Downey Jr. can switch like characters as he's sitting in front of you. Robin Williams used to be able to do it, but it was only in the frame of jokes. He wasn't able to like fully embrace a character, like fully embody this. Jonathan Winters was an actor that used to be able to do this, a comedy actor. And Jonathan Winters could switch through 5, 6 different characters right in front of your face, and you'd swear you were talking to 5 different people. And that's the kind of talent that James Earl Jones like honed and created for himself. One of his most infamous harmless roles, right? One of his most well-known ones is when he's on Sesame Street going through the ABCs. And it is a little unnerving watching him go through the ABCs as, he's just James Earl Jones. He's not putting on a character. He's just emphasizing each word, and it takes you out of it. It's a little catches your attention. We can't play it here because it'll get copyright struck all the heck, and we don't need that kind of attention around here. But if you're just tuning in, I have terrible news for everyone. James Earl Jones has passed away at 93. He's a celebrated actor that did great work for, I would say, 3 generations of people now, maybe more. I'm not familiar with a lot of his widespread work before he got involved with Star Wars. So you have to let me know in the chat or in the replay whenever you catch this. Did James Earl Jones like go out there and do more than like bigger work than Star Wars before Star Wars? I'm not sure. I know he was excited to be part of it. He even said, I'm excited to be part of it, even though I'm just an observer, meaning he's lending his voice. He's not actually on screen swinging the lightsabers around. So you'll have to let me know if my audio is all right here. I'm dealing with an old mic. I got to upgrade, I know. And apparently StreamYard has updated recently, so my mic is antiquated. I'm doing my best with a couple of layers of voice control programs, but you'll have to let me know if this is coming through all right. So, but, good morning to you folks. I just wanted to open with that monologue about this. I have a lot of respect for James Earl Jones. I unfortunately do not know his filmography that well, but his acting method has been something that's fascinated me for a long time. And I'm sorry that I never got to meet the guy. That I just didn't, I bump into him on the street. But, I'm sorry that I never got to meet the guy at like a con or anything like that, because I would have liked to have asked, like, stage actor to stage actor, at what point did he just decide to embrace that identity? As a man, it's a little different. When you're an actor, when you embrace that kind of lifestyle, because women, it's okay because they like being idolized for their visuals, But as a man, you want your talent to speak louder than you. You don't want to be what people think of. You want your talent to be what you think of. And so James Earl Jones quite obviously embodied that, and I just kind of want to know, like, well, never will, but it would be nice to know when he decided to like make that choice, to embrace that, to decide James Earl Jones is really cool, but the talent of James Earl Jones is what the world, is going to get out of me. And it's an interesting transition to make, and male actors have to make that decision. Arnold Schwarzenegger leaned into, I want people to think of my body. Now look at him. Not a lot of people think about him. They make jokes about him a lot, You got guys like Robert Downey Jr. who said, I want people to think of my talent, not me. So people don't think of Robert Downey Jr., they think of Tony Stark. It's one of those things. It's subtle, but it's there. And it's the kind of acting that doesn't exist anymore. You get more Vin Diesel style actors that are just there to be them on camera than you do character actors, people that are skilled like Robert Downey Jr., James Earl Jones, David Tennant. For much as you don't like David Tennant, he is an incredibly talented actor. I don't care for his politics either, but I have to admit he's an incredibly talented actor. The same with Patrick Stewart. I don't care for Patrick Stewart's politics, but I have to acknowledge the man's an amazing actor. It just is what it is. We have R.I.P. James Earl Jones from DZ3 here, and we have member of the channel saying here, Pinochet's Helicopter Tours says, one of my favorite James Earl Jones scenes is in the movie Hunt for Red October, where he says, you heard that torpedo hit the hull and I was never here. Yep. He had like, I wanted to see him in more, like Olympus Has Fallen movies. Like, I feel like Morgan Freeman kind of broke the door open for that kind of politics thing. I really would have been funny to have James Earl Jones in those 80s movies and in more politics movies. I think there was one he was in. It wasn't just Red October he was in. There was another one he was in. And Pinochet's Helicopter Tours, member of the channel, says, does anyone listening to James Earl Jones reading Masterpiece Theater on PBS? No, but I'm sure YouTube does. I only remember the Sesame Street thing because I saw it when in like syndication. I'm up in Maine. I'm like, we're so rural. They play like old Sesame Street up here. They don't even play the new stuff. We're so out of the way. But Pinochet's Helicopter Tour says Admiral Greer in three Jack Ryan movies. That's right. That's where I remember him from. James Earl Jones also served in the U.S. Army. Yep, he did. He was born in Kansas. Yeah, you're right, David Glenn. Stage actors don't mumble. We are trained to dictate, to have diction when we speak, and to project our voices. Yep. Pinochet's Helicopter Tour says James Earl Jones was in the Kubrick masterpiece Dr. Strangelove. Why don't I recognize that movie? He was in Porgy and Bess as Othello? Okay, so he did do quite a bit of stuff beyond before Star Wars then, huh? All right. That's neat. Valabesh says, greetings from India once again. How are you faring today? Sad to see James Earl Jones leave us. Yeah, you're right, Valabesh. It is. Yeah, I will always remember his menacing presence in Conan. He was and is a great actor. That's very true. He sets the standards. And it will be missed, Because like I said, there just isn't this kind of intention in acting anymore. It's all about the person, not their talent these days. But that Glenn something or other, that Glenn, golly, I can't remember his name. He's in that Twister movie, Glenn something or other. He's good for it though. He seems to be focused on trying to like, my talent's more important than me kind of thing. Who knows? But speaking of having talents that are more important to them, and in much brighter news, Black Myth Wukong defeats DEI cancellation efforts, turns tenfold profit in just 2 weeks following its release. That's right. So where we lost Concord in 2 weeks, Black Myth Wukong has become another record-setting game all over again within that time frame. And this is what happens when you embrace what you want in life. You know, James Earl Jones taught us this with his. He embraced what he wanted in life. He wanted to be an actor, and by golly, he trained the stutter out of him and became one of the most world-renowned, recognized pillars of what is considered great Hollywood. And just like that, Black Myth Wukong will also rise to this kind of effect in history, as it will be remembered in a very dark time, the dark ages of gaming, if you will, in the dark ages of gaming. This will be remembered as a pillar of light. This will be remembered as like the game that stepped through and said, monkey, instead of trying to lecture to you about all these different things that you and I don't care about. And I just am a little annoyed that it comes from China. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm annoyed that it came from China. Not that the Chinese are bad or anything, but I just wish American studios could put out stuff that's like as engaging as this. This just takes a bunch of notes from Elden Ring and Dark Souls and tosses it in with the Wukong, the Song Wukong myth well, it's a novel, but the myth from China. That's it, the Monkey King. That's all it is. It's not that hard. But then you get like Concord coming through, just trying to tell you that like Stabber Lang there, you saw in the beginning of the stream here. I played that at the beginning. It's Stabber Lang there. You're supposed to feel some kind of sympathy for this person when they were, if you don't know the story behind that character, the character's name is Baz. You're not looking at Baz right now. You're looking at Wukong. But Baz, that character from Concord, that's just a Sokka Avatar Last Airbender character, gender swap fanfic. This character comes from a male-led a patriarchy, comes from a male-led monarchy, and he is born a male. And he is very good at what he does, and he is the bestest of the best, but then decides he wants to be a girl. And because he decides to be a girl, his papa, who's supposed to hand him the crown because he's the bestest, best, says, no, you are a girl now. You cannot have crown. And that's what happened. And then they expect you to care about that. They expect you to sit there and think, wow, that's deep. Meanwhile, Black Myth Wukong is like, monkey with internal judgments about monkey. And that's it. That's all they did. They just made a introspective Wukong character that mildly questioned his purpose in life. Mildly. And that was it. And it worked. And it's going to be probably the best-selling game of 2024. And it came from China. It breaks my heart. It really does. Like of all things, maybe the Japanese could have pulled this off, but I don't know. What are you guys saying about it over here? Don't worry about it. I am annoyed too. I don't like China either, but this game looks good regardless. Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. We're lucky that we have Black Myth Wukong out here. I mean, it is a hellscape of DEI-infested mess out there, as you saw with Dustborn, with Concord, with Star Wars Outlaws. Boy, howdy, do we have an update about that. You just wait a little bit here. We're warming up to it, letting people get the notification to come in and join us and hang out here and hit the like button, share it out, let everybody know that we're talking about this, because Ubisoft has investors that want blood. They are seeing their investments return to what they were in 2014. That's right. Ubisoft. Gosh, I just want to run the intros again. What a day. Ubisoft stock is back down to where it was 10 years ago. There, I said it right, okay? English is my first language, I promise. But you wouldn't know it, believe me. I would like to congratulate Game Science for their absurdly smashing success with their game. Yep. Sorry, it just reminds me of the Nigel Thornberry meme. It has nothing to do with what you said. I'm just reminded of smashing from the Nigel Thornberry meme. But stock. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like bo. But yeah, their game just turned out to be a pretty just a breakout success because, like I said, it just looked at you and said, "You want monkey game? We give you monkey game." And that's it. It didn't try to tell you anything about your worldview. In fact, it kind of tried to reward it by saying, you're the Monkey King. in this scenario. And why do you want to be the Monkey King? You know, doesn't it kind of suck being the Monkey King? And that's it. That's all it did was like responsibility kind of sucks. And that's it. And then Wukong ends up proving that he's capable of it in the end anyway. So what do you know? It's a rewarding tale about taking on biting off more than you can chew. That's a good one. Biting off more than you can chew and managing to swallow it. I don't know. That feels a little racist considering the Chinese, you know. I don't know. I saw a video about that video you made. I saw the video about that video you made about the concept artist effectively blaming the corporation for Concord's failure, but looking at her portfolio, the ArtStation styles are basically the same. Yeah, exactly. This is people in the comments on that video will come over and they'll mention to us that Concord doesn't deserve that kind of this lady, by the way, not Concord the game, but the designer, the lead designer. She doesn't deserve this because blah blah blah. Her boss has made her do it. No, go look at her ArtStation. We showed you just Ray and Asuka, her redesigns there. Go look at ArtStation. That at her ArtStation, it's complete. That you're definitely going to see some magic there. These are not executive designs. I blame her entirely for what happened here. This is entirely her mind, her creation. These are the body styles that she creates. This was not a studio interfering whatsoever. If anything, they probably told her to tone it down, but she instead cranked it up to 10 and called them bigots for telling her otherwise. We have a member of the channel here, Pinochet's Helicopter Tours. He says, to anyone who has played the game, do the political ideologies of the CCP appear in the game at all? I know they have harmony laws that control what they show, like decay on bodies or skeletons. From what I've seen in the clips and the streams of Hypnotic was streaming it last night, from what I can see, most of this has been just Song Wukong's spooky tales. Xi Jinping thought doesn't appear to be present, but there aren't any female characters there either. You know, I think there's one, and she's the hot spider lady that you have to destroy. So she's not even an ally, doesn't have a compelling story. They're just evil, you know? Which is, again, wouldn't you know, some nice black and white evil. Isn't that great, you know? Real simple lines in the sand. Who would have guessed, right? It's just that simple with Black Myth Wukong. Oh, the snake lady. The snake lady. That's right. And that's it, though. I mean, they're evil. They're not characters that are meant to make you go like, yeah, the dark side has a point. They're there for you to be like, experience. You look like experience points, you know? And it's good. It's good. Pinochet's Helicopter Tour says, find the heaviest weight you can carry and carry it to your goal. Jordan Peterson is a Chinese operative confirmed. Well, and that's basically what the story is that Wukong is a little annoyed with the responsibilities pressed upon him, but he does it. And he ends up, you know, really coming out the other side better for it, from what I've seen. So if you've played the whole game through, I've caught clips of it and cutscenes and things like that in order to be informed about what's happening in the game. But it's not that I hate it. It's not my speed. I'm not a Souls guy. It's not my thing. But, you know, if anybody else has played through and wants to offer their thoughts on it, please feel free in the comments below or in the chat, wherever you find it. This is an interesting time. I didn't think I'd live to see a time when China was challenging American media. You got to understand, China has this nice appearance on the outside of like this cyberpunk dystopia, very advanced technology. But on the ground, most people don't interact with that technology. They eliminated poverty by lowering the poverty line down to the point where you can't afford access to a toilet. You know, that's where they eliminated poverty, is they just lowered what they were measuring as impoverished to the absolute floor. You know, people live on the streets in China, they're not considered poor. You know? I think what they consider poverty in China is $250 a year. US dollars a year, what breaks down to $250 a year. And that's basically you can't even pay for like bathroom tokens at the gas station, you know? It is what it is. But I like the Wukong story, as you should. It's a good story. It's a very masculine story as well. It takes you through the journey of being a young man thrust into new responsibilities and maybe not liking them, but ultimately being made better by them. So it's a pretty good story to have under your belt. So I highly recommend anybody, if you're just looking for clips too, if you just want something to do. I do this. I love watching the movies and video games. I own Horizon Zero Dawn just for the cutscenes. It's just a great movie, in my opinion. So I wish they would just do that, right? They just cut the cutscenes out and kind of fill in the blanks and release it as a feature-length movie. Wouldn't that be great? Like Death Stranding could be its own Netflix series with just a few filler scenes put in there to bridge the gap between the cutscenes there. But no, they won't do it. They won't do it. But that's what I do. I go on to YouTube and I look up the cutscenes from video games as put together as movies. And I sit and I watch that. 9 hours of my day swallowed up with Death Stranding, but I love it. It's a great movie. Daryl delivers the video game, not really my speed, but I really like the story in the cutscenes, I guess. But speaking of cutscenes, right? You want it cut from the scene. Have you guys heard about Beetlejuice, the recent attempt to resurrect what, in my opinion, nobody asked for to begin with? We got the Beetlejuice franchise revival situation here unfolding. Winona Ryder shares her disillusionment with the generation gap between hers. You hear that truck going by? That's a truckload of Zoomers just checking out of that movie because it's too long. Too long. But generation gap between hers and Gen Z in Hollywood seems to dunk on Millie Bobby Brown. I've gone from being the youngest person on set to being the oldest. Wow, it's nothing like a woman realizing that she's over the hill, right, guys? It seems to hit them all at once. They don't seem to notice it until just one day they're like, oh no, I'm old. It's not all women, but man, the ones in Hollywood, it does hit them like a brick. And as you can see, Michael Keaton is really, more Beetlejuicy than ever, I guess you'd say. But, she has her opening line here. I've gone from being the youngest person on set to being the oldest. I don't mean to sound hopeless, but get this, okay? So she goes on with this. She says she's observing what Millie Bobby Brown had told The Sun about complaining that she doesn't watch her own movies because they're too long, they're boring for her. She gets bored and wants to move on, go away. And because she's young, Winona Ryder has taken issue with this, okay? And so what she has here is, I just think that social media has changed everything. And I know I sound old. I'm very aware of that. And part of me thinks, gosh, am I like vaudeville at this point? Hey, kids, turn down the music. But I think there was such an abundance in the history of film, the history of photography. It's so rich and there's so much there. And I don't mean we should go backwards, but I wish and I hope that the younger generation will study that. So she's one of those people that's very concerned about the amount of TikToking going on. There's far too much TikToking happening in the world right now, and particularly in Hollywood. Now, again, we heard this. This is what I want to relate this to, by the way, is that we had confirmation that this movie was originally supposed to be over 2 hours long, and that almost 90 minutes of it were cut out in order to make it into an hour and 15 minutes or something. So this is clearly a response to what that was and nothing to do with Millie. They were probably told that the movie is too long for the Zoomer demographic to sit through. And again, it's a Beetlejuice movie, and it's not, I hate to break it to people out there, but Beetlejuice didn't really permeate beyond Gen X. It got a little bit into millennials thanks to the cartoon that was on in the mid-90s there on, I think it was WB. But that's it. It didn't permeate any further. You see a little bit of it pop up at the Hot Topic merchandise every now and then, but it doesn't have the same cultural sticking point that The Nightmare Before Christmas did. This is the example, the comparison, because they're sort of similar, I guess, maybe, I don't know. Halloweeny with a separate message than Halloween, I guess. And Beetlejuice did not remain that kind of sticking cultural pop cult culture thing. I'm not sure how to define it. It didn't become part of American pop culture in a major way. And so the revival of it is compounded by the Zoomers not having any real attachment to it. It might have been something that their grandpa, their Gen X grandpa, can you believe that? Their Gen X grandpa put on for them, when they were a little kid or something on Halloween to spook them out. But Beetlejuice didn't really permeate that generation. And then even further down, the alphas have even less of a connection to it. So I'm not sure that you're necessarily dealing with young people not having the attention span. What you're dealing with is young people not having an attention span for things they don't have a connection to. If this were a new property, they were trying to reboot Beetlejuice and tell a new story with it, I think that would be a different situation, honestly. I dread to think what that would be. But when it comes to doing a legacy film, a part 2 to this, almost 40 years after the fact? 30 years after the fact anyway. What is the point? What are you doing? A whole generation has risen to prominence and into backaches in the time that movie has just been out in the world. Most of the cast that was in the original one has either died off or they can't appear in the film due to legal reasons. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's bizarre to me that they expected a lot of audiences to turn in for this. Let me ask you, did you want a sequel to this? Did you think there was more Beetlejuice to tell? Like, even when I was watching the cartoon had nothing to do with the movie. Beetlejuice was just sort of a loaf about. The thing he didn't do was smoke weed, and drink in the cartoon. That was it. But it was just basically that guy. He was just a wastoid that didn't want to change his life, and he was friends with a teenage girl inexplicably. Okay? And that was it. And he had a crazy car. And that was it. That's all they had there. Crazy car that could do crazy things. Magic School Bus meets Nightmare Before Christmas was basically the aesthetic of it. And I don't feel like there was more to tell with the Beetlejuice movie even. That was a good little encapsulation. I don't hate it, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you think there is room to expand into a Beetlejuice cinematic universe? What do you think about it? I'm just gonna go over here and check the chat with you guys, see what's going down, in fact. And we got Zero I0 here. E0? I'm not sure. I agree. If you like sci-fi, it would be hard not to want to see a Death Stranding 2 trailer as a movie. Yeah, exactly. They did a really good job with that. We need to see more studios that are making these weird esoteric games step out of that and just make a wholly animated movie. Use those cutscenes for that. It's 9 hours of cutscenes for Death Stranding, guys. 9 hours. That is a marathon. You got to commit a day to that. A day. Did she steal much from the set? Who knows? We'll find out in the director's cut. Probably they'll mention how much she walked off with, but who knows? But Ashley Birch really made Aloy in HZ2 come alive. Yeah. Well, again, Horizon Zero Dawn is, I think, just a really, really standout game when it comes to female protagonists. Much like Lara Croft, Aloy in the first game is not a annoying woman. She's one of those, I guess you would say, sassy kind of ladies. That she's determined, she has her mission, and she's gonna speak her mind about it. A lot of Spider-Man energy there. But then in the second one, they made her talk down to everybody that she encountered. She wasn't funny anymore. She was just the smartest person in the room, and she was gonna bully everybody who didn't think that. And that's dumb. Don't do that. But Millie Vanilli Bobby Brown beat up Whitney Houston. Different Billy, Millie Billy Brown, different one. Though, maybe that would be an interesting Stranger Things movie, right? Like a follow-up movie. The corpse of Whitney Houston has to attack 11 or something like that. She's got to fight all these singers. That'd be funny. But yeah, aging like milk is probably a good way to put it. That's rough, especially when you're like goth 40, when you're 40 in your 40. Like, Elvira got really lucky with how she aged, right? Like, just pulled the genetic lottery on that one. Like, all points, A plus, green light, all the boards, all green light here. But not Winona Ryder. No, that did not carry through at all. That did not. Well, Winona used to the hot girl in Hollywood, artificially boosted, in my opinion. Now she's just citizen level, hotness level. To the privileged, normal feels like oppression. That's true. That's true. But again, I mean, look at her. I don't hot. No, I mean, like this is like a Halloween costume and performance that a Denny's waitress would have on. It just doesn't. Winona, it's over. It's over. It's over. Just open up a pancake house, lady. Just open up a pancake house. We got Dalu here. Dalu here. She is probably an actual Winona clone. I had a suspicion. I speak English, I swear. It seems to be that Tuesday is not my day to speak English. I apologize. But I had a suspicion, but this is proof. Sure, I don't know. Avril Lavigne was cloned. Why not? Anyway, Delu says, I'm 45-year-old grandpa. Yeah, well, that's how it goes, right? The Gen X, being grandparents now. It's wild, right? One day you're riding your bike to the neighborhood delivering papers. The next day you're on the porch collecting papers from your grandson, pitching them to you as he drives by with his first job. Comes at you fast, Yeah, that was weird, right? Anybody else thought that was weird in the Beetlejuice show, that he was like some hundreds of years, thousands of year old, a very adult demon wandering around with a teenage girl in the cartoon? That was really weird. That's weird. Nerdigans, that's right, Nerdigans. That's right. Bounding into comics, resident anime expert, investigator, deep diver, Nerdigans Inc. is here. Zoomers and Gen Alpha are too busy doing Twitter slacktivism. That is absolutely true. That's right. We got the Genshin Impact kids out there. They attack anything that isn't brown enough for them. They got this new colorism thing that they're doing. It's not racism, it's colorism. They want to focus on the color of people, not their race. Because that's different. Okay. He wanted to, yeah, it was a little weird, wasn't it? He went after the teenage daughter again. That's weird. Lydia Dietz nuts. Yeah, man. I felt that. For real. Yeah, good morning. Hello, One Punch Tolkien fan. Hello, welcome aboard. Happy to have you. Welcome aboard. And Pinochet's helicopter tours says, I have a conspiracy theory that the Matrix 4 was intentionally made terrible by that one Wachowski to stop producers from milking franchises. It could have been like, you remember in Code Geass where Lelouch decided to become the king of the world in order to break people from wanting a king at all. That could be what they did, is they did like, what is that, a Crazy Ivan maneuver? Where they just crashed into an opponent to deter them from attacking further. And, that could be the case. That could be the case. Maybe that's what they're doing with Minecraft, is they're trying to destroy an interest in video game adaptions. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. That would, might explain something. Nina says, morning, and speaking of female leads in video games, I'm pretty sure Samus was the first all badass, even if she lacked feminine personality, and other female characteristics in console generation. Yeah, we're done right. Well, again, I mean, we didn't know that Samus was a lady until, I don't know, wasn't it when she went 3D? Like, it didn't matter. I like explicitly shown as a woman, you know. I think it was like text said that she was a lady and kind of sort of shown that she was a lady. Again, you know, way back in those console imitation days. But I think it was 3D that we finally found out that she was a lady. And I don't remember anybody really being too up in arms about that. Because again, I think it was impressed that she was a girl before that. But yeah, her first appearance was in the NES. But I do believe that like when they made it explicitly that she was a lady, like showing us all of her curves and her butt and stuff like that and her suit and stuff. I think that was Metroid Prime? Wasn't that Metroid Prime? I don't remember that. But either way, that's Winona Ryder talking about being old, and that sucks for her. But now that we're talking about video games that are old, we should probably talk about old things that are being made into new video games. Who the hell wants an Indiana Jones video game? I mean, honestly, we have Uncharted out there. What is it that hard to throw some asshole into a cave and have him retrieve ancient treasure? We have to attach Indiana Jones to it. We can't have a new franchise do this. If you don't like Uncharted with Nathan Drake, just come up with another one. Again, it's not that hard to throw some dork down a hole and have him come out with treasure. Well, I don't understand why we have to have an Indiana Jones game. Disney, I guess, Lucasfilm, whatever, LucasArts, whatever they are now, they are desperate, I guess, to hold on to IPs. They cannot dream up anything new to save their lives. I am surprised that Indiana Jones isn't Indiana Jones, you know, like Anna Kendrick taking over the role in the game and they just completely gender swap Indiana without any explanation. I'm surprised that's not the plot of the game, but here we are. And I don't know about you, I don't think that this is going to work. I don't see where this is going to sell anything more than what we saw with Star Wars Outlaws. Once again, you're dealing with a property where the target demographic, which would be, you know, 14 to 25-year-olds, that's your ideal gaming demographic where they're going to go out and spend on this stuff. Might be into the 30s that spend on like the limited edition and stuff. But when you're looking for like the horde of people that are going to go out and involve themselves with the product, you're looking at 14-year-old to 25-year-olds, right around that area. And who the hell in that age group has any attachment, any interest in Indiana Jones? I'm 35 and I don't. I mean, I missed the bus on that whole franchise, granted, but I can't fathom what the goal is with this. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? It's a little, I think it's a little over the top. Yeah, maybe 20 years ago, maybe with the Crystal Skull, this would have worked and like a Burger King tie-in, but I just don't understand why now. The colossal failure of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Derpstiny should have been the explanation here, but just so bizarre. It really is. You have, had beat game 100% and fastest time possible in the original Metroid. Yeah. Wow. Wow, speedrunning. Nice work, Nina. All right. Congratulations. Those old games, that's not easy to do that. It's a pain in the ass to get through those old games. They don't have journal mode, you know? Yeah, people, a lot of people don't play video games anymore, wouldn't you know? A lot of people don't play video games anymore. And good for them. The, yeah, with Bethesda on that project, with Starfield, yeah. Bethesda, they don't know what they're doing anymore is the thing. They're just creating stuff for the sake of creating stuff, and that's not... It reeks of desperation. I think Fallout 76 hit them harder than they really want to admit. I think that really screwed up the studio, so they're just taking anything they can get, and they're chucking out whatever they can, and it's... Bethesda quality is a thing for a reason. Yeah, night shift sucks. Yep. You're absolutely right. It's rough, but hey, man, you're up in the morning, I guess, joining us for the Cider Talk in the morning. And So that's that. But that brings us to the main event here that we were talking about with Ubisoft. Okay, so this is the situation that we're facing. We have investment firm that is part of the investment portfolio for Ubisoft. All right, they are saying that they want the company to change, and they are threatening a hostile takeover to get it done. This comes after 10% of the Ubisoft stock dropped as a result of the like its stock dropped by 10% as a result of the release of Star Wars Outlaws. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking at here. And this comes to us from Spencer Bakuli. He hopped all over the story here and got this under control for us. And it says shareholders are hostages of Guillemot family members, and this is the owner of Ubisoft. This is who owns Ubisoft, and Tencent, who take advantage of them. Now you know Tencent is the Chinese gaming and entertainment corporation that has their fingers in the pots of just about every just about every organization on the planet that puts out entertainment. Much like how BlackRock has their fingers in that sort of stuff. Tencent's behind Epic Games. Tencent is behind, oh boy, the Monster Hunters game, movie rather, that got banned in China because it had the Chinese joke in it. Yep. That's Tencent. Doesn't even know what their own people allow. Yep. And so we have, yesterday, 29 years ago, WB Kids went on the air. Yeah, right. 30 years ago, WB Kids was on the air. I was 4 years old, so I did not know that. I had a black and white television in northern Maine, and I could watch Gumby when it wasn't storming. If it was overcast, I could kind of see Gumby, but if it wasn't a clear day, I couldn't watch Gumby. that was it was Sesame Street and Gumby for a long time for me up there with black and white television even, you know. But that's Maine, right? That's Maine. That's not where anybody else lives. That's like Siberia of America. But that's what's happening here with these guys. So we'll read down into what they actually have to say about this. The quotes about it were so here we are. In further compounding the game's struggles, this is about Star Wars Outlaws, JP Morgan downgraded their sales expectation for the game, with their predictions getting slashed down to from 7.5 million units sold in the fiscal year to 5.5 million. Now, that doesn't seem like a big drop on like just looking at it, but when we think about a million, I know it's hard to picture in your mind because that's a lot of things to picture. So to help you with that, like a million, think about that. A million, that's probably a swimming pool full of marbles. That's probably more than a million. But if you want to picture that, that's probably close to a million. Is a swimming pool full of marbles. And that's how many, that's just 1 million. Not the 3.5 million, 2.5 million that they brought this down by. That's a lot. That's a lot. That is a lot of stuff not to sell, especially when those things are running at $55 and up a copy. $55 and up a copy. And so, you know, the stock price fell down there, and as you can see here, it's diving. So this is one of the things that I just wanted everybody to take in and like enjoy for a minute here. This is a beautiful thing. Because you're seeing Ubisoft's stock drop by the euro, by the way. This is what we're looking at by the euro. Over the course of one single year. This is since September of 2023. I was going to say August. This is from September of 2023. Amazing. Amazing. You see how they're falling. It blows my mind, really, that we're this lucky to witness this, that the fans still have power, that the market still has power, that BlackRock can't override us and make something look like a victory when it's not, that there is still a way to look out into the internet and have proof that, yeah, you know what? These guys are idiots. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know why they're doing it even. They're just out here cranking out crap like we saw with that Concorde designer. Right? Like we saw with the Concorde designer. And so that's It's one of those things where you can go out there and you can witness for your own eyes just what is going on in the world with Ubisoft, and you love to see it. You love to see it. We're not done with this though. We're going to go on. We're going to read more about AJ Investments, as they are the people that stepped forward and said, we are deeply dissatisfied. So I need a drink, so we're just going to take a quick second here. And I don't like being on camera to take a drink. I have a rule: you don't get on camera when you put stuff in your mouth. So all right, that's enough of that. So this is what they had to say. After seeing that, by the way, that graph, right? They took a look at that graph and they were like, we got to send a sternly worded letter. And this is what they had to say. Our deep satisfaction with the current performance and strategic direction of the company. We want to take Ubisoft private or allow it to be sold to a strategic investor. We believe that Ubisoft at current valuation is deeply undervalued and would have been worth 40 to 45 euro per share. The main reason why the valuation is so low compared to the peers is that Ubisoft is at current state is mismanaged and shareholders mismanaged. Okay, just listen to that. That is a huge statement. Okay. When these are people, these investment groups, if AJ Investment as a group itself is approaching Ubisoft like this means that people with millions of dollars at their control. We're not talking 100,000-aires. We're talking millionaires, not billionaires, millionaires. But if these guys are coming out and actually saying that you're mismanaging our investments, that seems like a kind of obvious statement to you and me, but that is like all hands to battle stations. That is, trouble is on the horizon. That is, we have a hole in the side of the ship as far as any business that takes public investing seriously. All right, especially Ubisoft in the current condition they're in. Big issue when you see that word pop up. It is astounding, in fact, to see that word right there. So they go on and they said, and shareholders are hostages of the Gilman family members and Tencent who take advantage of them. Management is focused on pleasing investors with beating quarterly results and not focusing on long-term strategy to provide exceptional experience for the gamers. Our company has extensive knowledge about the gaming industry, and we were a long-term shareholder in Activision Blizzard. And we started our Ubisoft position a couple of weeks ago and still added to it. We cannot understand the decision-making process of the current management that is focused on releasing multiple average games per year that are harming Ubisoft's reputation among the gamers community instead of focusing on providing hit games within an exceptional franchise portfolio. And so this is going to be their recommendation. Now, this quadruple A thing has to go, okay? Whoever came up with that, fire them immediately. Just don't even let them clean out their desk. Keep their things as punishment, okay? Be that teacher at the end of summer that doesn't give the gizmos back from September, you know? Don't do that. You know, just get rid of them. Just get rid of them. Send them out on a rail. Whoever came up with that triple A thing. A quadruple A. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So, they recommend to take the company private for a fair price. Now, what they want to talk about here is they say, we urge the board to consider taking Ubisoft private, with Tencent as a significant partner and shareholder. Ubisoft as a public company is under ongoing scrutiny to report better and better quarterly results to please investors, which may harm strategy going forward and is harming Ubisoft at this time, when they need to think long-term to get new air into their exceptional franchises. This would allow the company to address its issues away from the public market pressures and make necessary changes without harming minority shareholders, retail investors, and pension funds that are victims of these efficiency problems and mismanagement by the current leadership. If Guillemot and Tencent are not interested in Ubisoft value, here's the big part. We urge the current management not to block any takeover, as there are several private equity groups that would be interested based on our research. In the event of our offer, I speak English, I swear. In the event of offer from PE group or strategic investor, we urge Guillemot family to accept this bid, when this bid will be at for a fair price. If this offer won't be accepted, we will sue for a reimbursement of damages. Cost reduction and staff optimization. Implement a comprehensive cost reduction program and optimize staffing levels to be more comparable with industry leaders. This will involve difficult decisions, but is necessary to ensure long-term viability and competitiveness. Something Ubisoft, I don't think anybody like puts Ubisoft and competitiveness in the same sentence unless they're saying they're not. We are aware of the layoffs that Ubisoft has made in recent years, which accounted to approximately 10% of the workforce. But that is simply not enough. Wow, they're going pretty hard on this one. We are aware that Ubisoft announced a strategy to cut fixed costs by 150 million euro by 2024 and 200 million euro by 2025. But we still think this is not aggressive enough to stay competitive in the global landscape where Ubisoft operates. As part of this effort, Ubisoft should consider selling its studios that possess talent. I'm going to say that's not the Star Wars Outlaws studio. Just a guess. I'm going to say that's not the Assassin's Creed Shadows studio. Just a guess. But are focused on non-core games, thereby allowing Ubisoft to streamline operations and focus on its main IPs. This move will raise cash at Ubisoft and lower its debt and become more effective and efficient on a day-to-day basis. Wow. What do you think, guys? That's a real like off the top ropes thing. That's kind of like Sting coming down from the rafters with a baseball bat. Like, we have had enough. This is over with, you know? Matthew Gadet's here, and he says, I think a reasonable company would have recast Indy and had more movies in the 30s and 40s serial period. Following Harrison would be hard, though, but not impossible. Disney is just incapable. That's true. Sorry for the interjection, but do we have any idea of Ubisoft's upcoming games beyond Assassin's Creed Shadows? At this time, no. They're a little tight-lipped on that as they're trying to focus all of their energy onto Assassin's Creed Shadows. But I'm sure if we dug enough, we'd probably find some obscure thing that they're working on. And we also have to remember that it's not just this studio in Quebec that makes all of their stuff. They have quite a few studios scattered across the planet that make things, but I'm not sure what they're working on. Valavesh says, if we customers and investors do not have any idea, what is their future plan for improving their stocks? Hopes and prayers? Might be the Concord route, you know? Just putting out something 10 years late and hoping that it sticks. Disney failed with Solo, so they decided cartoon CGI deepfake for everything, which is a joke. Yeah, it is. It's a real pain. And Sergeant Giratina's Rising Renegade says, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. Yep, that's correct. He left us last night, as reported. And it's a Hollywood talent that surely could have helped Ubisoft these days. That kind of ethical performing that he did there. That would be a lesson that Ubisoft could definitely learn from. Just doing their jobs, being happy that they got to do it. Matthew Godet says, EA will buy them. Lol. I mean, they bought BioWare and turned them into a joke. Well, it's not too far of a transition to joke for Ubisoft, that's for sure. Nina says, after HD Shadows and Outlaws, they full-on blast as everything going downhill for them, everything they're doing, and this is coming from me, who plays For Honor and old Assassin's Creed titles before the change. Yeah, you're absolutely right that these used to be, again, Ubisoft used to command some talent, some market gravitas, but not anymore. Not anymore. Nerdigans Inc., member of the staff here, Bounding into Comics, says, I mean, EA is putting out Dragon Age 10 years late. Yeah, and it's painful, too. It's a painful Dragon Age as well. But we'll go on. This is more from JP Investment, and they are letting us know that Ubisoft needs to concentrate on their core IPs. And as such, they say this. They say, concentrate resources and execution on development of core IPs that have proven to generate the majority of Ubisoft's revenue. Titles like Rainbow Six Siege. Now, we saw this. We're going to get a Rainbow Six character in a wheelchair, apparently. That got leaked out. Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Watch Dogs, and Tom Clancy's titles such as Splinter Cell. Sprintle? I think it's got to be Splinter Cell. Sprintle? Anyway, should be prioritized and cherished, ensuring they maintain their market-leading positions. Now, this is good. This is a really good idea. I honestly believe that they should sit down and fuse these. If they want to have an engaging title, you sit down and you take what Tom Clancy's story is about, you combine it with Watch Dogs, you give it Assassin's Creed's ability to move between time through different people's bodies, and you give it Far Cry's, basic setting. You're out in the wilderness, you're a hyper ninja with parkour skills, and you're there to help the past and future be reunited. Like an extended Assassin's Creed situation, but more in the line of having to use these abilities for the betterment of the present rather than trying to stop space aliens. So they could combine all that into one actual IP and probably have a winner there, but I don't know. Watch Dogs, I don't know, guys. If you taken a look at Watch Dogs, go back and watch some clips from Watch Dogs. It's a little trippy how that kind of became real. That just kind of became real. That's life. Watch Dogs is this close to becoming the actual future we live in. It's a really uncomfortable situation. So they could just do, Watch Dogs 2025, and man, that, with that body cam style real deal footage they've got with the body cam game, man, it would be really hard to tell, modern France from the Watch Dogs France. It would be really. So they also want to make management changes here. So they say this. They say, reevaluate the current management team and governance structure. It is crucial to have a leadership team that is capable of driving the company forward and delivering shareholder value. Consider hiring a new CEO who would run Ubisoft more efficiently, who has a proven record of running companies like Ubisoft. Obviously, advisory by the Gilman brothers will be needed, so selecting their successor would be needed, but that's what their recommendation is for leadership and stuff. I don't know. It's Splinter Cell, yeah. Sprinkle Cell, yeah. Sprinkle Cell. I remember Sprinkle Cell, yeah. Matthew Godet says Mass Effect 3 is still dire. Replaying the legendary EA edition deserved all the hate they got. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And yeah, it's Splinter Cell, yeah. Is it Zazton? I think it's Zazton, right? Zazton Revolution. I guess they're really going to put the Rainbow Six, put the rainbow in Rainbow Six. Yeah, we saw that concept art that was coming out about the wheelchair-bound operative that got leaked. So, because as you know, in war, everybody goes to war. Everybody. It's amazing. Matthew Godet says, finished Trespasser on Dragon Age Inquisition. What a crap of a DLC. Yeah, All of them. I mean, that's why Black Myth Wukong just, I'm amazed by it, but I'm so disappointed that Western developers can't even come close. It's so basic. It's not revolutionary. It didn't do anything new. It just didn't try to lecture to you doing it. That's all it did. It just told you Monkey Man, and that's it. It's pain, so much pain, so much pain. But we got Nina here, and Nina says, I fear BioWare is on thin ice since EA known to shut down studios. Yeah, BioWare is one of those ones that they don't know what to do with. I've noticed that. RIP Westwood CNC titles, as I'm sure ME4 and Veilguard is their last chance, maybe or maybe not, depending on what EA does with them. That's true. Again, I don't think that they're going to come through on that. That's the thing. I think BioWare, they're gonna fold it all into one studio going forward. This is what they do. They double down. They don't correct the problem. This is how these people operate. They double down on their beliefs. It's not us who are wrong. It is the world who is wrong. So they'll double down and just pull everybody into one giant studio and float it that way, you know? Oh, Zaxton. Okay, Zaxton. All right, I've got it now. Zaxton Revolution. My bad. And yeah, Matthew Goddard says Veilguard looks horrible. Doesn't look like a game in development for 10 years. Doesn't even look like Inquisition Part 2, which originally was a Dreadwolf. Interesting. Well, they go on and they have some more things to say about this. Yeah, you can read a room. I can barely read the chat. I don't know what's going on today. Tuesday is just coming for a vengeance. I think I need to go back to bed. Blech. Anyway, we urge the board to consider our proposal seriously within the next 60 days. This isn't something they're going to come back in a year and decide if they want to do it or not. This is before the Assassin's Creed Shadows release, okay? Can you imagine? Like on the verge of Assassin's Creed Shadows release, after all the advertising, after all the BS they went through, that giant fortress at Gamescom that they put up, the big red brick. And then the new owner is like, we can't put this out. There's no way we can put this out. They cancel it like just weeks before it's supposed to go out. Oh man, that would be great. That would be great. If we do not receive a reply, we, together with other minority shareholders, will share our views and make a bigger push against Ubisoft management according to the French minority shareholder laws. We are in contact with institutional and retail investors of Ubisoft to act together to increase the value for all shareholders. Our shareholder group has requested meeting with the current management. French and EU laws provide comprehensive legal framework for the protection of minority shareholders and the resolution of situation of abuse of dominant position by controlling shareholders. As a minority shareholder, together with others, we will use all legal possibilities to achieve our goal. All right. I'm down for it. I am down for it. So they've said in the next 60 days, they're going to make a move. All right. So in the next 2 months, that is now Assassin's Creed is supposed to come out in November. So that'll be right on the verge of that game coming out, that they'll be trying to take over that Ubisoft thing. That is amazing. Wow. It's a lucky time to be alive. You see these game companies getting shoved in like Firewalk with the Concord game. Then you come around and you see Ubisoft getting theirs shoved in by their own shareholders. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that there is some kind of control still, that not everybody in that investment room is down for this kind of, I don't know, Sudoku stuff that they're doing. We have Sakura Mita here saying Ubisoft stock dropped to an all-time low. Guess the early access backfired. Yeah, again, it showed off a lot of problems. There's multiple clips of dudes just playing the game and then the speeder just drops out of the world. And then they have to look into the camera and say, this is a work in progress build, and that kind of thing. Like, really? You're gonna let that go out, early access go out, where you're just gonna drop out of the world, where you can just all these glitches they have going on. And now they've had them do a game-breaking fix. They had an update come out that fixed a literal region in the game where if you're going along at a certain speed, your speeder will just drop out of the world, like I mentioned. But this was a whole region. And you just be going along on your way to the next mission, and whoop, you're done. You can't even restore back the old save. You're now at the bottom of like the whole like map generation. You're under the map. And yeah, that's what they did. They put patch out to sort of stop that. They put that as early access. They put that out as early access. That's not even beta ready. If like characters on a plane can't remain on that plane, the game's not ready to be played at all. That it's not out of like the boardroom coding stage yet. I don't understand this, but that's what happened. That's what they did. And so you can see why these investors are upset about all this. You can see why they really, really hated that. Really hated that. So, but here we are, you know. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, guys. Really. I don't know why games companies do this. I don't know why Disney did it. We know why they take the money, right? But at the core of who they are as a human being, I don't know why they did what they did. I don't really understand how they go to sleep at night doing what they've done. Ubisoft in particular has been, I would say, if not the most egregious in this, but one of the most egregious in this. And I just don't, it perplexes me why their morality goes out the window about this, why the money just outweighs all of it. And even then, look what happened with Concord, $200 million, and that went nowhere at all. Was it all just so they could get paid? Did they all do that just for their money and then they walked away? Now you got the lead character designer coming out and saying she's going to quit art because of all the people not liking her character design. So it's like, well, did you care or not? Was it just for the money or not? What is it? And so I don't understand what drives them to do this. I don't understand what drives them to create a Star Wars game that isn't Star Wars. I don't understand what drives them to create an Assassin's Creed game that has a secret trans agenda in it. Yeah, this is an attempt to push out the Gilman brothers. Well, I hope so. They seem to be the problem at the head of all this because, again, they are the ones in control of the company. So we have Zero here, and he says, honestly, the tinfoil hat part of my brain makes me think Ubisoft and these companies release bad games on purpose, take short-term financial knock in order to affect the long-term cultural zeitgeist. Well, that's what BlackRock pays them to do. I guarantee you BlackRock is a member, is a majority shareholder with them. And majority shareholder is 16%, by the way. And BlackRock has demonstrated that they own 16% of just about every company on the planet. And I'm not kidding you. You can go look it up. From toasters to rocket ships to cars to TVs to phones to paper. BlackRock is 16% involved in it. And that's a majority shareholder. And you get to tell people what to do when you buy in that hard. And so these guys come in and they want to change this. They call themselves the minority shareholders, which means they're together. They don't possess a 16% pull, but they have laws in the European Union that allow them to take command of a company if more people, like physical investors, are pushing against a physical minority of majority shareholders. And so that's what they're doing. They're basically trying to strip BlackRock's control here. I don't know. BlackRock obviously is aware of this legal mechanism. They quite obviously paid for it to exist. So they must have a way to exploit it backwards and make sure that these people trying to take over Ubisoft don't get their way. Again, it's BlackRock. They're in everything. Everything. BlackRock is in Vanguard. Vanguard is in State Street, and they're all in each other. It's all the same organization. It's all Larry Fink. And I know that sounds crazy, but you go look it up. Go look it up. You can do it right now if you want. Matthew Godet says, did they deliberately make a bad game to tank the stock for a takeover? No, I don't think so. I legitimately believe that this was 9/10 of another game, and then they got bored of it, or like the market fell out on it. And so Disney came by and said, we need a Star Wars game about an outlaw that's not Han Solo. And they had a I honestly think this was an Italian Job video game that they had made that was like about the daughter of the Italian Job lead character guy. I think Jason Statham played him. And that I think that's what this originally was her proving herself in that story that she was a successor. And then, of course, whatever happened, Ubisoft abandoned the project most of the way through, and then Disney came along and they dug this up and reskinned it with a bunch of Star Warsy stuff. And it's Star Wars like a birthday, you know. There's stormtroopers in it. Ooh, there's Star Wars noises in it. Ooh, there's a Star Warsy spaceshipy thing a little bit, but the rest of it isn't Star Wars at all. It looks like it's like space Fallout, but you know, for people who eat Tide Pods. The stormtroopers have to be inside of your hitbox to notice you. You saw that in the gameplay coming out on the internet. You can be shooting them in the head, and they have to enter your hitbox in order to notice you. Journalism mode is like the base function on that game. Nina says, never can understand why gaming companies always releasing unfinished games in a broken state. Cyberpunk, a perfect example how bad it was. It's like using their customers as beta tester, so release the patches. Yeah, and that's what happens. That's what happens to them is they put out these games that are completely unfinished, and you get like a day one 50 gigabyte patch. Looking at you, Overwatch 2. You know, and you get this huge patch that comes through that fixes the game, even though it doesn't. And then you still get successive patches over the next week as they continue to discover more problems. So it's like, what are your game testers doing? Are they just partying? Are they talking about how oppressed they are? Are they tending like protests? What are we doing? Because they're clearly not testing the game. BlackRock is being challenged for violating shareholder interest. Yeah, and again, it won't work. I'm sorry, they own everything. The only way is to go in and deliberately lock them out legally. That mega hedge funds like theirs cannot invest in corporations. That's the only way to do it. You have to do the trust buster thing that Taft and Roosevelt were doing at the beginning of the 1900s. You've got to come through with a sledgehammer of legal controls, of regulations on these investment firms and ban them outright from having these kinds of controls in media. Because what it boils down to is a group of like 40 people that are the biggest investors in that hedge fund make all the decisions for the world. I know that's crazy. I know that's straight out of a 007 movie. But Google BlackRock and Google their holdings. Google their shell companies. Google the holdings of their holdings, okay? They have control over everything, and it reports back to 50 people. It's almost like that scene from Dr. No, where a bunch of guys are sitting around a circular table and they got that light over them and you can't see their faces, just their hands and their business suits. And that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with they, them, those people. And that's who's done this to Ubisoft. That's who's done this to the entire entertainment industry and everything else you can imagine right now. That's why they're all singing the same tune. You ever wondered why Disney and Lionsgate and Hasbro and Ubisoft and, Carnival Cruise, kite makers, why they're all saying the same damn thing? It's not that they woke up one day and they were all like, you know what? I really care about trans people. Trans people are people with vitiligo or vitiligo or whatever it's called, where you have that patchy skin. I'm not dismissing it. I just can't remember how to pronounce it. It's one of those things that escapes me forever. But get that patchy skin situation going on. It's like that. What did they just woke up one day obsessed with that? No. They just woke up one day obsessed with tearing down the institutions that had been built up over the past 1,000,000 years or so. They woke up one day saying, I don't like sexy women. We need more bricks. We need more brick-shaped women, And they all did this at once, right? I'm to believe that Bob Iger and all of his buddies met up at the country club and had an epiphany all at once, sipping some brandy around the golf hole. That's right. We should take out the white man. That's right. The greatest threat to democracy is the white man. That's right. Good show. And that's what we're led to believe. That's what we're led to believe, is that just all at once they decided we're going to be in tune with this. No, it's not what happened. Larry Fink came in and said, you're all going to say this if you like having our trillions of dollars at your disposal. Come up with the craziest things you want to. We'll put money behind it to make it happen. We'll put money behind it to advertise it. And we'll put money behind it to cover it when it comes out in public. We'll hire people to deliberately say nice things about it and bad things about people who discredit it. That's exactly how it went. Larry Fink is on camera saying that BlackRock is going to change behaviors. They're going to force behavior change. He's on camera on Bloomberg television saying that markets don't like democracy. They like authoritarian governments because they're predictable. This is the guy that runs BlackRock. He's the tippity top. Larry Fink. All right. And that's what he believes about the world. And he did this. Okay. All right. I'm going to go center screen on this one, I guess. So Larry Fink, all right, now this is going to get clipped, whatever you want to think about it, but Larry Fink created a computer program called Aladdin. No, it had nothing to do with a magic carpet, a genie, a Disney movie, nothing. It was just a very basic binary code that took in information from insurance companies, from the stock market, and from the news, and weighed the possibility of investments versus what those were. Now, it wasn't intelligent. What Larry did is he would apply a weight to these variables that he was putting into Aladdin. And what would happen is that the real estate would carry a heavier weight than the newspaper headline, but it would still be calculated into how Aladdin would report back the success of an investment involving these different variables, okay? Of course, it became more sophisticated over time, and now Aladdin is for sale. You can go to the BlackRock website, and you can buy Aladdin for your own business if you want it. Okay? It's expensive, don't get me wrong. They want millions of dollars to license it, rightfully so. It's basically cheat codes for any market, any market. It'll tell you the success or failure of any investment decision you make. It is quite literally a crystal ball. And because it's simple, it's not trying to weigh in like, this many people with vitiligo are going to buy this game. This many people who are interested in having sex with the bear will buy the game. No, it doesn't do that. It weighs in just whatever you give it to it, and it weighs those as variables into your investment. And then it tells you if it's going to be a success rate in a percentage, not a big long paragraph that explains how to do it. Larry goes out and hires people to execute the results that he gets out of Aladdin. And that's how this whole thing came to be. Larry fell out with the stock market. He said it's never going to happen again. He bombed out of the stock market in the middle 80s. And he said it was never going to happen again. He had like a whole Bernie Madoff thing. You remember Bernie Madoff? He had a whole Bernie Madoff thing happen in the mid 80s. And of course, because BlackRock's so big now, they've just completely erased it from history, but you can still dig around and find evidence of it. It's poking around. Some people on 4chan have collected the information together and put it into a nice collage so you can understand it. That's where I got it from. But Larry had a huge blow up in the 80s in the stock market. And so what happened was he said, I'm never going to let this happen again. And he developed Aladdin for that purpose. And quite obviously, it's never happened again. Aladdin's been able to help him successfully predict every investment that him, BlackRock, or anybody else that licenses this technology is able to do. It's not an advanced AI. It doesn't tell you anything. It just is a weighing machine. That's all it is. It takes in whatever you want to tell it is important and weighs it against whatever outcome you want and then tells you if that'll work or not. That's all it does. And yet it's led to trillions of dollars of investment being hoarded underneath an organization that wholly and entirely hates the fact that you make your own decisions. They hate that. They hate that you wake up in the morning and you say, today I'm just going to do whatever. Today I'm going to go to work and I might talk to Janet. Today I'm going to go to work and I'm going to tell a funny joke. They hate that you make your own decisions. That's what this is all about. Larry calls people that live on Earth citizens of the firm. Not firm as in like, haha, we're space aliens. We're firm as in like office. We are all citizens of the office in his mind, okay? You know what happens when you work for a corporation? They tell you how to dress. They tell you when you can eat. They tell you how long you can poop. And most of all, they tell you what you can think. And that's what this is all about. It's a gigantic instrument of control for a whiny baby that can't accept the fact that he dropped out of his stock market dreams. He wanted to be a stock market tycoon, so he created a Frankenstein monster that has now effectively taken over the world like a vampire. And that's what you're looking at. That's BlackRock. That's the ins and outs and all there is to know about it as far as what's available on the internet. If you want persons involved in this, huge investors that are involved in this, look no further than the people we're not allowed to talk about. That's exactly what you're thinking of. Mm-hmm. And it's scary. It should be scary. It should be on your mind every day, every single day, that leaders of this country were planted into their positions by BlackRock. Where do you think Emmanuel Macron came from? He's a banker. Who do you think put him in position? Who do you think supports him? Who do you think helps him develop the propaganda to stay in office and manage to repel Le Pen constantly? Who do you think fixed their election for them? Who do you think allows China to go into Africa and just dominate that place entirely and yet keeps it out of everyone else's view, the kind of abuses that China is practicing on the Africans? Yeah, nobody knows about that part because BlackRock doesn't want you to know. They're making tons of money off of turning most of Central Africa into lumber. Whatever, right? It's bad when America does it, but when China does it, it's we got to do money. Good for money. Yeah, the inventors of democracy should be able to abort it anyway. Well, democracy is kind of annoying, to be honest with you. We're a republic. Democracy means everybody and their brother votes on things. That's the majority wins, and that's bad. That's why we have a representative democracy, because we elect people to go make decisions for us. And in this way, we are not dealing with the majority of people who can be swayed in certain belief systems. Our idea of public service was meant that you took a hit. It wasn't always that the leaders of America were making $217,000 a year. I think that's where they're at now. $217,000 a year. A long time ago, it was at the sacrifice of your business, your farm, even your family, if you were to serve in office a single term. It was 4 years that you had to be away from every investment of your time, love, finance, whatever, serving your country. It's why they were called public servants. They got a stipend to travel. And that's what they have built their whole salaries out of, was that one allowance for them to pay to get back and forth, because it was quite expensive at the time, still is, arguably, to fly someone from the opposite side of the republic to the capital of it, i.e. Nancy Pelosi, who flies home every night. Being a fink is not something you want to be. Exactly. Don't be a fink. Don't be finky. Don't go out there with your finky out. All right? Keep your fink tucked away. Hide your fink. We have Matthew Vedette here. He's saying, Sweet Baby makes no sense. Why they have taken over games nobody wants to play and don't sell. Make it make sense. Well, this is that money I'm talking about. BlackRock doesn't have to come into Sweet Baby Inc. and give them money. They just have to go in and make sure that they're giving money to the studio that hires Sweet Baby Inc. for hiring Sweet Baby Inc. Do you see how that works then? They tell the corporation, the gaming company, like Firewalk, let's give who did work with Sweet Baby Inc. where it really stunk up? Yeah, so you take a look at Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's where that lady came from, the leader of Sweet Baby Inc. So you take a look at that. BlackRock did not pay her to exist. They did not pay her to start that company. What they did is they incentivized corporations to hire her corporation by telling them that they would, the DEI investment of having that consultation group around, because the consultation group fames themselves as being DEI compliant and helps bringing corporations into DEI compliance, okay? And so DEI funding from BlackRock is there, it exists, DEI funding comes through when they hire Sweet Baby Inc. And that's why these companies keep hiring these people, because technically, when you look at it on paper, it's a free $2 million, maybe more. But when you get into the actual implication of Sweet Baby Inc., it costs a lot more. And then sometimes the whole studio will go under for the involvement of these Sweet Baby Incs. Take This, these other corporations, these other consultation groups that do this. And it's not going to stop because there's a whole industry around it now. You have to take the head of it out. And there's just no way to do that short of getting legal protections put in place that stop BlackRock from being able to invest in a major way in these corporations. Now, I need to remind you guys that BlackRock also paid for senators to create laws that demand that these companies, this is real, you can go look it up. We passed laws, I don't remember when, it was before Trump or just around Trump. We passed a law that companies have to be have so much DEI points, right? You hear about this, the DEI score, right? They have a DEI score with the World Bank. And what this does, okay, is it tells the World Bank if they can lend to these corporations or not. That's right. That's what BlackRock did. They passed an actual law that you have to have a above certain level, like a GPA, you have to have above certain level DEI score, compliance score, in order to get loans. And as you know, 99 to 100% of these studios right now are in such bad shape, even before DEI, that they have to take these loans in order to get anything done. And add to that, they get more money if they're in compliance after meeting that score. So they get more money if they put more DEI in it. That's where the incentive is. That's why this stuff keeps happening. They're trapped. It's not that these are good people at all. It's that they've fallen into this trap, and that's where they're stuck now. There's no way to reel them back out of it. You have to let Disney burn down. You have to let Ubisoft burn down. You have to let the comics industry burn down. You have to let Hollywood burn down. Something new that has never, ever been tainted by BlackRock and knows the danger of doing that has to rise up in its place. That is the only fix to this. I'm sorry. Anybody who had hope for Star Wars coming back and being strong again, it has to burn away and something new has to take its place. That's how this works. Now, some people out there, they sit here and they think, well, okay, so what this is a cleansing fire. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that concept. Superman has been around for almost 100 years. Batman's coming up on the same timeline. All right? Most of the Marvel heroes we've got in MCU movies, they're at least 60 years old or more. They're threadbare. They've done everything. We haven't had new characters in forever. For God's sake, Sonic was made in the 90s, and we're making live-action movies about him now 30 years after the fact. We don't have corporations don't want to make new ideas because that's too risky on top of the DEI thing. You see? And this is the trap. This is why I say new ideas will have to burn out the old, make do of the ashes, rise from the ashes like a phoenix and do a new property. That's the only way forward, because you literally have to burn out. I'm speaking metaphorically, not like go out and start fires. Don't do that. Nothing legal here, nothing illegal. But you have to burn out that infection. Otherwise, you're not going to get free of this stuff. And it takes a two-pronged approach. It's not enough to have like Eric July show up and have really solid presentation, really solid sales record, expanding, hiring in industry talent that's not tainted. That you got to have more than that. You got to have the legal end of it that says the people supporting the competition like Disney and Marvel aren't allowed to do that. These companies are not allowed to stand on their own merit like Eric is. Eric has to prove to you that his products are worth your money. Disney doesn't. Marvel doesn't. If they screw up, Daddy Fink just writes another blank check and tells them to do it again. And they do it to a greater extent, again and again and again. And that's why it's not going to stop unless there's a legal regulation on the opposite side of this that says, no, Larry Fink, you cannot invest in any company. You can collect money as an investment space, right? As like people want to put their money into you as like a bank, right? but you're not allowed to own 16% of every single business on the planet. You know, BlackRock is the single and only corporation on the face of the planet to manage the Chinese retirement fund. That's right, the CCP allows BlackRock to manage their national retirement fund. That's what BlackRock does. That's the kind of power that they have. People just don't recognize that it can't be done by just creating nice stuff. It has to be done by having the government on the other end put the boot down on their head and say, no more. We're done. Take your money, invest in the moon, invest in science. You're not investing in media anymore. It's over. You're not investing bread anymore. You're not investing food anymore. It's not happening. Where do you think Monsanto gets their money? Where do you think all these corporations that keep chucking more and more corn syrup down your throat, where do you think they get their money from? Oh, because of the Rockefellers, Chase Bank backed Mao, Prescott Bush funded World War II Germany, and the Cliveden set and Western bankers funded Lenin, Trotsky, and the Bolsheviks. Yeah, exactly. The Bolsheviks would have never have come to power. And you want to guess what the millennials are? I got bad news. I got real bad news. You remember 2020 when they went out and screamed and yelled for George Floyd? The millennials are your Bolsheviks. If you take a look at what millennials are and you take a look at what Bolsheviks, they're almost a 1-to-1 comparison of what these people are. They're just not from another land. That's the only difference. They're domestic Bolsheviks. And I'm one of the millennials, you know. I'm aware of the programming that was put in my head, just like you are. I'm saying good luck to Japan as BlackRock is coming for them, going corrupted. Like they did to the U.S., hoping they can be as resistant as we are with them. Well, the Japanese don't have like cultural backstops. They don't have like cultural dams, I guess, to stop some of what BlackRock wants to do. Japan has I study the culture. I'm not an expert. I just, as a hobby. Japan has a social cohesiveness culture, I guess. In public, you have to be one way, and in private, you're allowed to be however you like. But when you're out on the street, you must behave in a certain way. And all BlackRock has to do is start saying that in social norms, you're not allowed to judge people who are trans. You are not allowed to judge people who are gay. You are not allowed to judge people who are actively involved with animals, you know? And that's all they have to do is just take a hold of Japanese thought leaders and for the next 20 years, just press upon them that this needs to be changed. And within a generation, it will be. It's what happened here. It's all they did here. They sat down with the millennials specifically and reprogrammed us. Made us believe that up was down, left was right, and good was bad. Freedom was oppression. Yeah, that's all they have to do to the Japanese, but they have even less protections against that because they have such a powerful social edict. All you have to do is just alter that, just a little bit at a time, and you'll have them eventually. And I'm not saying they're weak. This is what saved them, but this is ultimately what BlackRock has the power to do, is they can buy people. They just straight up buy a dude if they want to be bought. They can straight up buy people. They can buy whole nations at this point. Yeah, you know, I argue about that, but I wonder if maybe it would have been better off if we didn't annex them and make them a state. I think about that sometimes as if Japan was actually made into a state. And I go back and forth on whether or not it would have been good or not. I see how the United States has turned out today. But I wonder if maybe having that rigid and passionate and super deep dedication to culture, to history, to the fabric of where you come from, I wonder if that wouldn't have helped being folded into what the American culture is itself, you know? This was a new land still. A lot of people were still trying to decide what legacy meant having left Europe, you know? And so I wonder, you know, if maybe what the Japanese being made American citizens and Japan being our front line in the Cold War, because Europe wouldn't have been the front line anymore. If Japan was a state, then that would have been the South China Sea, Korea, all of that would have been the front line for the Cold War, not Europe. And it would have been an entirely different situation out of World War II. But I don't know. It makes me wonder. Maybe I'll write a story about it one day. I do make comics after all. I do have the Colossals. I did make this. It's just one, it's just one book out there. I did sell like 212 of these, but I've only made one book so far. There's more. This is part one. There's more. But, this takes place in a different reality as well. Obviously, there's superheroes, but it's a different reality where people have a high trust society. So that's the future I'd like to live in. Gene Roddenberry told us to create a future that we want to see. And that's what I do. I can't say the same for Ubisoft. I can't say the same for BlackRock. I can't say the same for Disney. And I certainly can't say the same for anybody else upholding the DEI 10 poles. It just is what it is, guys. It just is what it is. We lost James Earl Jones, and that's kind of a black pill in and of itself. So going throughout your day, if you're the praying type, just, have a prayer for James Earl Jones that everything's going good for him and he's looking down on us knowing that things will work out in the end. It'll get a little rough in between now and then, though. But that brings us to the end of the show. I appreciate your time. Ran a little long here than usual. I usually like to give a half an hour for people to get out and stretch their legs, grab a sandwich, get ready for Geeks and Gamers Daily. I believe that Jeremy will be on with Jay today. I'm not sure. It's always a random with them, so we'll find out when we get there. Feel free to tune in for that, though. They'll be on in just about 15 minutes or so. So we'll check you out in the next one. We'll see you tomorrow. And as always, guys, good luck out there.
Wake up with a smile, Mr. Cider's on the dial. Rain cheer all day, he's the one who makes it sway.
Hits the air with style, morning radio wild. Cider's voice so clear, fills the morning with good cheer.
Mr. Cider,
Good morning, good morning.
start your day with joy and dawning. Wake up now, don't be late. Sun is rising, feeling great.
Coffee brews and toast is warm. Cider's voice is the daily norm. Smooth and sweet like apple pie. Lifts us up and makes us fly.
Radio waves in the air, Mr. Cider always there. Tunes that make us dance around, Mr. C bringing that sound.